tried to get them to get more light on this thing, but guys, how do you want to do questions? You want to wait till you're done? Yeah, just fire away. I think the best way to make it more interactive is when you have a question, just ask. Both of us are classroom teachers, so we're used to the interruptions. So I think it'll flow much better that way. Okay. So I've got you guys with like 55 minutes. All right. Thank you. Well, thanks for coming. We're very happy to be here. I'm Tony Souza. I coach at Westminster, and Jim Buczek coaches at Lovett. And we're here just to go over some Lax 101. And I know Lax 101. That's cute. My wife did that. So this is sort of what we're going to do. I don't want to get away here. Individual skill development, team development, and if we get down to the bottom stuff, hopefully some stitchies and program issues. Jim's going to go over most of the offensive stuff, and I'm going to do most of the defensive stuff. So like I said, if you do have a question during, just raise your hand and we'll answer it. So we're going to start off pretty basic and move from there. So Jim?
And echo what Tony said, thanks to Doug and Coach Buczek for putting all this together. To Don's point, when he asked, we kind of got a good mix of high school, middle school youth. We've been at the high school level a lot. The past several years since my guy's gone up, I've kind of moved through that as well. So we've tried to tailor this to kind of hit a little bit of everything. To Coach Trigger's point, shooting. Yeah, I had coaching in college in North Carolina. There was Virginia was big back then. You know, millions of years ago. Tim Whiteley, Watson and Knight, they were the best attack group they had. I was Mark Van Arsdale, was a friend of mine. I was like, how do you do it? He's like, every single day we shoot. You can't score if you don't shoot. But the first thing every day, targets. I'm a big believer in hitting spots. What we do is those little bungee cords that you have to put the goals together. Next week, before practice, I'm gonna take those. They're perfect size for your water bottles, and I put 4 bungee cord 4 water bottles into the 4 corners of the goal. Sometimes put it on hip level, and that's how every single week I'll leave them there all year on the off season. So guys are hitting spots and not even seeing goals. Okay, until we're ready to put the goalies in. Form. This is something I learned, as Coach said, and as me and Tony agree, we've stolen, ripped off, or adapted almost everything we do. So please, if something, steal everything. If it works, it's your idea. If it doesn't work, blame me, and we're all cool there. When I coached at Princeton, we had a kid named Scott Reinhardt, he became a first-team All-American. In high school, he was always, Charlie Lockwood's caddy, and he was one of the best shooters I've ever seen. I've been to shooting talks, and there's, I hear these people, we can talk forever about it, and it's, rotation, hips, this. I'm like, when you're playing in a game, you don't think about all that. And I would ask Rhino after practice, I'd be like, what are you doing? What's your process? And he's like, Coach, all I do is get my hands off my body and rip my bottom hand through my other hip as hard as I can. That's all I'm trying to do. And the muscle memory piece of it goes, all he does, you're doing all the physical stuff and all those, big talk, breakdown stuff, but in the game, hey, I'm running, I'm getting my hands out, and that gets all the mechanics doing that. And you can't do that if your stick head goes below your shoulder. Okay. Now so it automatically imprints on the boys. You won't have to say, shoot overhand, shoot overhand. Overhand doesn't mean this every time. You can come down, but if you go below your shoulder, try it. And when you're warming up goalies, try going below your shoulder, and you're going to spray all over the place, just like the kids would. Okay? So it allows you for straight overhand, mid, and 3/4, and for all our right-handed players, which probably 80–90% of us are and coach them, hey, they're always hesitant to shoot left-handed. But now you're teaching them, hey, now you're shooting left-handed, but you're really using your right hand. So it gives them, what I've found anyway, a lot more confidence and more willingness to go through, because now, hey, they're not worried about this hand, which they're not confident with, weaker in. Now they're worried about their right hand, which they're used to being good with, and now they're just pulling through that. And it's reinforcing perfect form every single time. That's why I like watching Miles Jones. And you can see this. You go back up here. His top hand, he's not even really grabbing the stick. He's doing everything Scott Reinhardt taught me. And yet, he's 6'4", 250, and can run. Okay. When my son was in 5th grade, and I coached his 5th grade team, we taught them they could do it just fine. And Lord knows, I mean, they're thinking about chasing water bugs and the Avengers movie. They can learn this, okay? And they learned how to shoot what I think a very, very effective way. You can kind of see here both sides, off the foot. You can say that's not straight overhand, but as long as it's above. And you can kind of see one thing I know Coach Holman in North Carolina does. How far is too far and getting your hands off? And they take volleyballs in North Carolina. And if you can throw a volleyball through there, you're all right. Can't throw a volleyball if you're too tight, too far away, too stiff. So the kind of optimal thing for them anyway is kind of that. If you can fit a volleyball in here, you're doing all right. Okay, and that helps you with getting your hands off your body and bottom hand ripping through to your opposite hip. I think it was it. Dodging. Yeah. I rarely even have a stick in my hand anymore, so I needed to use it today. The biggest things, one of the biggest things that we see players, especially younger players, need to learn is the spacing, okay, relative to the defender. Okay. Too many times, what I've seen anyway, is it's kind of the Goldilocks principle. They're too close or they're too far. They're rarely just right. And for what I've found is sticks length away. Okay, is about just right. Okay, Coach, if I'm trying to dodge Coach Souza and I make my, it's too easy for him. What we see most often is I'm going to make my move. Okay, but if I'm about this, and now put it if he has it. Okay, if I make, he's already here, and now my hands are free. Okay, if he tries to come at me and I make it right, we're gone. If he tries to drop step, okay. So I think it's easy to teach kids that. We do it, this will be my 12th year, I love it. I'm not even going to bring the balls out for the first 4 days. We're just going to condition. Okay. But once we get the balls and sticks out and we start building on what we're going to do, every year we're doing the same things early. When we first start, you're going to dodge that stick. Then we're going to put a guy there holding a stick out. And you're going to get used to the muscle memory as the coaches talked about before. Okay. Then we're going to go put a defender, and then the defenseman can take one step. Okay. And then the next week, we'll start going live. Okay, so just the build-up and the progression of where spatially we're trying to teach kids to dodge relative to the defense. Hands, especially with all the crazy stick technology, and they're trying to fix it a little bit, I think. What I see a lot of times is kids dodging with and playing too much like this. Okay? Defensively, bad. Okay? Offensively, okay, you might be able to dodge, but you got to come down here to get rid of it. You're not throwing passes like this. Okay? I'm a big believer in you should play defense, you should pass and shoot, with your hands exactly the same. Okay? And for what I believe is about hips. Okay? So from little kids to bigger kids, your hands are here. Okay? Well, there's been years where I've gone down to the 7th, 8th grade, and we make them put tape on. We measure them. We say, okay, Tommy, put your hands here. When I put tape here, that's where you put your hand. Okay? To play defense, pass, and to shoot, and to dodge. Okay? All the same muscle memory, so the kids aren't having to adjust as we go. Okay. Next one. Okay. You kind of see here, Miles Jones again, and Jimmy Bitter. Okay. They're not dying here. They at least have something. If you need more to protect, if you're an attackman, okay. But here, you got to get rid of it. Okay. Get rid of it quick. If you're moving here, you're taking time. Okay. Play the same way all the way. Pockets. This is just kind of another personal, maybe pet peeve for me. Maximum Zani, look at that pocket. Okay. Look at that pocket. Maybe it's personal preference. Look at your midfield. Look at, especially the lower you go, the worse it is. I've seen. Okay. Big bags. Okay. Lots of flair. I just grabbed this stick. Was just something I had different pieces laying around the garage. My wife told me to clean the garage. I'm like, okay, I'm just going to make a stick. No one will ever steal it because it's so ugly. So yes, there is some neon here. But hey, a throw string or two, a shallower pocket, lower. Okay, for different people have different things. But if you're I see so many kids, especially at the youth and middle school level, they can shoot the bejesus out of the ball with their sticks if they have room and time and 8 pro hops to do it. And then they get in a game and they actually try and pass it, and it's going straight into the ground, hook slide. You need, in my opinion, less is more. Okay, the muscle memory will take up for all the things if you put in the time in. Okay. But if you're looking at your kid's sticks and he's got a bag, okay, he's not going to be getting rid of the ball very well. And part of that is fixable, okay, with some of the stick technology. And that's just, you gave me some time to talk. That's always something that's kind of bugged me. Yes?
Just a quick question.
Yeah.
A lot of the really young youth guys seem to come in with a stick right off the shelf and it's got no pocket in it. And it kind of, the parents don't know how to adjust it. Would you recommend telling parents to get a kid with just a head and then go to like a play again to have them string it with a pocket?
I would, in a little promotional plug, I would go to, what's it called now? Breakaway Lax World? We're at Breakaway. There's every time I've been in there, there's 2 or 3 guys who that's all they do.
I've just heard a lot of parents that are like, wow, I just spent $80 on a stick, and now you're telling me to go have it restrung for $30. Should they start with just getting it restrung or strung it?
I do it for my son. It's build it, kind of like they used to do it on the internet. Okay, what color do you want this? What color do you want that?
Some kids come in with a frying pan.
And then it's hard. It's hard, especially to Coach's point. It's got to be fun.
Yeah.
It's hard for lacrosse to be fun if you can't catch and throw. I would say it might even be impossible. But is there a more fun game and a more beautiful game when the ball's banging around? But that starts with that.
Yeah, one thing you might want to do, my son is 5, and I actually just went and got him a stick, but I got him a soft mesh. A lot of the kids are buying these really hard mesh, and those are very hard to break in, and they take a lot of time. You got to know what you're doing. And the soft mesh one works fantastic. So I would think about maybe turning them on to something like that when they're younger.
Yeah.
And then there's also, I mean, every year I have to restring a stick, and I always forget how. And you go on YouTube, and there's like 10,000 different ways to string a stick. It might be fun if a dad or someone wants to sit down with their kid and watch it string it together, because that is your lifeblood. I mean, that stick is, they used to say sleep with your stick. And that's,
all of us will do that, but you get some of the parents that are like, Right.
It's actually really easy. I always tell my guys I watched a 10-year-old blonde kid, I don't know why blonde did it differently, but 10-year-old blonde kid who I watched do the stick, and I did what he did, and it turned out perfect. Could use it the next day.
Somebody?
My kids are so like superstitious about their stick, I think, for lack of a better word. Do you make it a policy to tell them how to string their stick, or is it more of just you really get on them?
I don't make it a policy. I think one of the things that I think is cool about lacrosse is there is opportunity for some individual expression, and the stick is part of that. Yeah, some with the colors, okay, but as a functional thing, you know, kids got what I get hesitant when like administrators try to give me one-size-fits-all solutions. They rarely work, in my opinion. So if a kid, hey, this is the way I want to do it, okay. As long as you can get it done the way I need you to do it, we're cool.
So you have that kid that has that fantastic shot, but is shooting down, passing down the ground. How do you go about fixing that?
I will literally, I've already done it, you know, this year already. Hey, you can't. Part of the reason why this is happening is because of your stick. Here's what you need to tighten this stuff up, retrain your muscles a little bit. It will go quickly, but if you keep doing the same thing over and over, you're not going to get a different, you know, result. And it's not the kid, it's the stick. And you know, if he doesn't want to do that, well, he's not going to play.
String King has a really great online tutorial. I think it's called Ustring, where you can select your head, and there's tons of different variations.
And there's usually, especially once you get into high school, there's usually a kid on the team who's the stick guy, and that kind of gets passed on down through the years.
Got a player who's struggling when he's shooting. He keeps shooting really high. Is that a stick or is that mechanics?
The first thing, if it's coming out high, if his mechanics are right,
Yeah.
and it's coming out high, then the first place I would look is the stick.
Tight on top?
Yeah, I personally like to feel it click off the plastic. That helps me. So I go kind of looser with the strings here, just so it'll go roll up, and then the last bit will click off. That's personal for me. Some kids like to string them so tight that they can feel it come off there. But I would say if there's a kid who, you know, is just, if he's shooting it right and it's still skying on him, we need to tighten up the top part of the stick there. And I think that would be the first thing I would look at.
Defense. So just like Jim, we don't do one-on-ones for a while, maybe first two weeks, maybe not week, first week. We do a lot of just teaching the position and, you know, trying to get ourselves in the correct position as much as possible. And we always build defense from the ground up. Obviously your feet are the most important. I'm going to go back and forth. Obviously the perfect defensive position is just the athletic position we've all been taught in basketball and football or whatever. Some of the things that there was a picture of a guy with his hands. I also teach, like Jim, you can't play defense even with a short stick like this. You've got to play defense with your hands where you shoot. It allows you to do more things. I see a lot of people play defense like this, which it makes it very hard to actually play defense. So we work on getting into the correct position from a lot of different places. So this is what we're always looking for. This is the position to get into, although it's very hard to get into on the run. So we do a lot of things on how do you get into that position from different areas of the field, and how do you stay in that position. So if you go back here. So where we do our defensive position, when we work with our defense, we have a lot of different drills that help us get into these positions. I'm going to go here to the chalkboard or the whiteboard, so it's better on the whiteboard. But we do a lot of drills that help us to get into those positions. We don't need the ball. But we have D guys, a lot of D guys, and what they'll do is coach will put the stick in his hand, and all we have them do is attack the coach on the right side in a good position. So in working, if Jim could come up here, we don't even want to stay, if that's okay. I'll give Jim the stick. So
It's a little light on the dry erase board, though.
yeah. Oh, you can't see that. Well, I'll act it out here with Coach. So in our first position, if I'm a defender, right? So we would have a lot of guys, and Coach would put it in his right hand, and all we would do basically would run up. We'd start here. We'd act like he's getting a pass, and we'd run up and we'd break down in a good position. Okay? And that's all we would do. We'd have a line of guys that would do that. We'd do that over and over. We'd do that for 5-10 minutes. And all that does is it gets us moving from one place to another, breaking down, making sure we're in the right position. Because a lot of things, like Jim said, with the dodging, we don't want our guys running in and getting too close, right? Because that's a killer. And we don't want our guys running in and then just giving the guy all the room in the world, right? So we teach our defensemen, if we have a big long stick here, I would teach my defensemen to get into his man about a stick length away, right? So in this drill, we would come down, we show, we want to attack his right hand, we break down, and we get you right here in a defensive position. And that's the first sort of basic thing that we would start with. Just guys running to a coach and breaking down.
Yeah, that's a lot better.
Yeah, better. So that would be our first progression. Our next progression is we would have just 3 defenders on the outside, 2 defenders in the middle, and all they're doing is the ball would go back and forth to these guys, right? And all we're working on is if the ball's here and the ball's thrown, this guy attacks the position. And we'll talk about 2-on-1s and things like that later, but we're just looking for him to go to the correct position. And then the ball would go back. Actually, we would just use 2 people to start. So defender, defender. So the ball would start here, he'd throw it over here, he'd go in, sit, and this guy would drop back. So now we're using 2 guys. He would pass it over, this guy would attack in position, and then this guy would flow back. So we would go from 1 guy to 2 guys, just working on breaking down in different positions.
Tony, do you get your shorties in this too?
Not yet, no. So this would be like the first week of practice just with deep holes. Shorties, we do it in a little different way, but I would do it from up top. I didn't see you in asked. Oh, yeah, so we would do that from, so if this is our, right, so I would do this with the coach, and we would put the defender to the defender and the coach, and they would attack and drop back and go back and forth. That is one of the things we work on a lot with our stick position, our body positioning. After that, we would go the zigzag and the coach. So this would, and yes, we would do also deep up from the midfield as well. So we would have middies, and we would do a deep midi and a deep midi. They'd throw the ball back and forth, so we would throw the ball over, he would attack in the right position, and he would drop back, and then vice versa, we would do that as well. So that would be the first couple of days of practice, just getting their bodies used to attacking in the right position, in the right space. One thing we do for helping the kids to move their bodies in the correct way down the field is we do a zigzag drill with all the attackmen with all the balls, and then a defender with them, and then the attackman would slowly work his way down zigzagging, and the defender would stay with him. So the defender would play him, and then would work on changing his hips with the ball. So if Coach Buczek would grab a stick real fast. The reason we do this is we don't like when kids retreat backwards like this. We either want them going side to side, or we want them to turn their hips and run. So if Jim is going down, I'll sort of go here like this. We'll work on just side to side here, staying away from them. Transition over, side to side here, okay, and then transition over with them here and work down the field like that. If we wanted to speed it up and we're going back the other way, we'll go a little more, we'll go quicker. Right, I would have the guys turn and run. So I would turn and run, he would stop, I would turn and run, trying to always keep this position, this depth between us. I don't want to get too far away, I don't want to get too close to him. So those are the body position drills that we would do a lot So building in the defense, we would also do stick drills. We do a lot of, so the first 15, 20 minutes of practice, defense is off by themselves doing work. We're doing shooting like Coach Buczek would say with the offense. And with some other defensive stuff, we would do working on their sticks, on their hand coordination, hand-eye coordination. So if Coach Buczek would just stand there, this could be another defenseman. He'd just turn his back to me real quick. And we would just work on circles. So we would get in our position, and we would just work on circles, right? Circling his body one way, and then circling his body the other way. One thing I see is that we want to make sure our bottom hand is down. We don't want to be playing defense like this, obviously not like this. This is where we have most of our leverage. So we're working on here, we're working on here just to get our hands moving. Another way to work on your hands, Coach Buczek, turn around, stick both your hands out, drop the stick. And then we would do our figure 8 drill, so we would stand here, and then we would just figure 8 here, trying to get the hand speed up as quick as possible, trying to move it through. And then once we do that, go ahead and pick up your stick, Coach Buczek. We would then we'd do the zigzag drill again, teaching checks. I don't want to go over too many checks right now, but we would go through, Coach Buczek is running down, we would go through, we'd work on the slap check, throwing checks, right? We might do a poke check. They say the poke check is dead. I still think you can use it, especially if, you know, guys a split dodge and likes to come across his face, right? Keep it in there. So we would work on checks. We'd work on going over the head while you're running, moving your stick independently of your feet. So those are the drills that we would use a lot of to just build up the base of the defenseman. His feet, his hips, his hands. So that's how we sort of build a defenseman. Takes about 2 weeks to get through these drills, and then we'll come back to them every 2 weeks. We'll do a basic drill again to start the day off in practice. Stick skills for a defenseman. We do a lot of playing hockey. We have 2 little goals that we set up. And the defense just plays hockey sometimes, right? Trying to pick it up, they can pick it up and put it down or whatever. But having them get used to a ball down at their feet, just passing it, sort of boom, little goose with your feet, just doing that drill, the ball never comes off the ground. They love it. It actually teaches them how to move the ball out of the pack, kick it to themselves and get it up and get it out of the defensive end. We do a lot of 4 corners, so I can use the...
Coach, when you play hockey, how many will it be? 3-on-3?
Yeah, 3-on-3, 4-on-4. I think we only carry 9 defensemen, so it'd be like 4-on-4 on any given day. While the offense is shooting, I'll have the defense be in their 4 corners, and they'll do over the top and diagonals, right? So we'll usually start with 2 balls or something like this. So we go over the top, and then down. And the defense just rotates. They just rotate. And this gets them moving the ball on top, looking in different directions, making sure that they can pass all around the box. We want to be very proficient in the box area. So if this is your field here, the box area is very important that we can actually move the ball with any deep hole in that box area. So those are sort of specific to the defense drills that we do. To help us get into these positions that I have up here. Right, so bottom hand down, he's on the corner, and I'll show you a drill to work on defense around the cage in 1 second. At the corner, obviously, he's going to have to get into the body, but the one thing I tell my defensemen, if the attack is, or anybody is more than about 5-7 yards away from the cage, we don't want to be that close. Because if any offenseman will tell you, usually if a defenseman's that close, they've won. Right? I want the head of the stick somewhere out here where this guy has to go at least 6 feet before he gets by me. Right? So that's my goal, keep him on the edge. As you can see here, Army guy known for great defense, broken down, sitting down. He's got his bottom hand lower than his top hand. He's not engaged as much as the other guy is.
Is that Coach Walker pictures back in the day?
Helmet's a little different. So we've got Army versus Colgate over here. As you can see, this guy attacking is not real comfortable. Defenseman is sitting down in a great athletic position. Obviously, he's changing directions or something because he's planting and going the other way. As you can see, this guy would not play for Jim because of his stick bag is so bad. Well, Colgate's known for that anyway. Big guy. So this is sort of our progression on building a defenseman. One of the drills I just talked about, we work a lot on, like I said, getting our guys into the right position, not going against an attackman. So we haven't even started one-on-ones yet. And we'll do this drill a good bit. Now these little dots are cones, or X's are cones. And you might have seen this somewhere. I stole it from somebody, just like Jim, I've stolen everything. And we'll have a defenseman, and what we'll do is we'll have him retreat. He's going against air, so he'll retreat, he'll turn his hips and run. He'll turn his hips and run. He'll drive around. We'll work on, and this is all in a good defensive position, we'll work on coming across the back of the cage, trying to get to this here, sit him down, and walk him out. So we'll do this drill just looking at body position. There'll be a lot of D guys here, and coach will point them in one direction, right? So if Jim is the coach, and I'm going, he's just going to point me in the direction. I'm sitting here playing Jim. Jim will just go this way. So I'll run this way, hit the corner, sit down and break down on GLE. I'll run my guy off. He'll go behind the cage. I'll run behind the cage this way, step over the cage, and then work him off GLE. All right, so we'll do that figure 8 drill a lot. That gets a lot of different things. It teaches how to play, and if you don't know the term GLE, goal line extended. So we do a lot of turning on goal line extended and working at those positions because we never want anyone here. 1v1, right? Danowski always talks, you want to get 5-5. We don't want to let anyone get to 5-5, right? We're going to shut 5 and 5 down. 5 over, 5 up. This is where we don't want anybody. So that's individual defense. Any questions? Yes?
So when you do the initial approach drill that you're talking about,
Mhm.
are you building in the chop steps when he actually does this, when he actually approaches? Can you break down the feet?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, so we'll do it. I guess the distance would be about here. So I would be, like if coach is here at the end line, I would put a defender about here, like he's coming up and he's going to play. So I'd be about this far away, and Jim would just say go or something, and I would run to Jim, break down and sit. And then I would walk off, and the next guy would go. And we would do it to different hands. So the one thing we want to, and we'll talk more about on this on the team defense, we want to dictate to where they go, right? So if we know we've got a big time lefty, and I don't want him to go left, I'm not going to break down on his right side, Jim's right side. So I'm going to come at Jim if I know he's a lefty, and I'm going to break down. I'm going to make sure that I make him go exactly where I want him to go. So I've got room between him and myself and him with the stick. I know he's going this way, which will set up our slides, which we'll talk about in a little bit, but I want to dictate to him where he's going. And that's sort of the main thing. That's how all of our defense is predicated. We know where they're going to go, so we've got a plan in place to hopefully stop them. Good. Yes?
Are your pros switching hands when they're
No.
changing the ring?
No. I never tell them to switch hands. I actually tell in most of our stick drills that D poles don't